Democratic Alliance and its coalition partners in 3 Gauteng metros are yet to form mayoral committees. It appears they seem to be at loggerheads. So what is going on? Because, of course, up to now, political analyst Professor Dirk Kotze from Unisa. Prof, good morning to you. The mayoral committee should have gotten to work already. It's delaying all the plans that were promised during the voting.
Yes, that is indeed so. I think what we are seeing now is obviously the negotiations are still continuing. They have met yesterday. They've even gone to Germany on a visit in order to see how they form coalitions there. And we've seen just now over the weekend that they have now decided on their chancellor also in Germany after the election in September. So it's not necessarily a quick process. We've seen it in many other countries also. If there's real, genuine negotiations taking place to form coalitions, then it takes time, because it means that parties that sometimes quite far apart must be brought closer to each other in terms of their understanding, their philosophy, their vision of what they have to do as a combined government, but also how to share power, how to allocate seats. And I think this is where we are now with respect to the DA's approach to it, is that they don't want to give away too many seats because there's so much intense competition within the DA for the 10 seats that's available per metro council.
But one could argue, Prof, can't they, that if there are political parties that are so far apart from each other, ideologically and politically, that we're even having to go to Germany to try and see how they are doing things, one could argue that perhaps you shouldn't be in a coalition to begin with if you are that far apart. Perhaps just do the job of being the opposition or being the ruling party in that council.
Well, I think in this case, the parties that are involved, more or less 5 parties in total, or 5 or 6, they are ideologically not so far apart. Take, for example, Action SA versus the DA. They are basically related parties. But now there's the history of the two. The fact that the Action SA is a splinter group from the DA, that introduced some personal issues, some issues that they have to deal with about trust, about how to have a fair dispensation and distribution of seats in different, not only in the mayoral committee, but it is also about the so-called Section 79 committees in the council. So several issues. It's about also how to form a joint caucus, how to take decisions in that caucus, how to set up an agenda for the different meetings. It's quite an elaborate process. It's not simply saying yes and no, we understand each other, here are the seats in the different positions, and let's start. And I think that was missing in the first dispensation of 2016. And I guess this one can say this is the lessons that they've learned, and they try to avoid the repetition of that. Yeah, so I have some sympathy for it. I just think that they must not play the game to the extreme, that they start to use what we call in political science brinkmanship, that they push them to the edge, because it is in the interest of everyone that ultimately there's a working executive in the metros and that they are sustainable, that they can last for the 5 years.
Prof, let me leave this as my last question to you then. While all due diligence, it seems, is being done to try and form these mayoral committees, how long would you suggest is reasonable before the work itself gets underway? It's been more than a month now since we all went to go and make our votes and make our marks.
Well, I think we are very close to the closing date for this, or the cutoff date for such a process. I think the public is going to demand that more and more. There is, in terms of service delivery, that I guess is not the main issue, because the officials, the administration in the different metros, they are there. They are supposed to continue, the directors, the sectors that have been established in the different metros, they continue to function. But it's the leadership that's there, the direction that must be given to the work that they are doing, the oversight that also comes from, the political oversight that comes from both the council as well as the mayoral committee. That's what at the moment is lacking. So the time is running out for that, and I think before the end of this week, I think it's a fair sort of deadline that we can set for them.
All right, it's a good place to leave a line in the sand end of this week, as you suggest. Professor Dirk Kotze, always a pleasure to have you with us, a political analyst, taking a look at this last-ditch bid to form these mayoral committees in Gauteng metros for Joburg, Tshwane and Ekurhuleni as well. My thanks, as always, to the good Prof.